Now is Sara Vakhshouri, SVB Energy International founder and president. Sara, I know it's U.S. focused, but let's just start there. $5 gasoline prices at the pump, $130 Brent by the end of the year. Do you agree with that kind of assessment based on the strength of demand that we may be seeing?
Yes, of course, especially as we are seeing that most of the power plants, the natural gas power plants, especially in Europe, are switching from gas to oil. So the demand for oil is going to even increase further, especially from the months of November through February of next year. We're expecting the demand increases. On the other side, we're expecting that the European embargo on import of Russian oil go to full effect. So then we are also expecting some Russian oil supply cuts in the market as well.
Sara, as we see that switching from gas, natural gas, to diesel and other oil-based products, does that limit how high NASGAP prices are ultimately going to go in Europe as that switching happens, as that marginal demand goes to another energy source?
Not necessary, because there is still significant demand, especially in Europe, as I'm sure you and your audience are following, that how the gas reserves are very historically low. Natural gas reserves in European countries like Germany particularly. We also are facing non-Russian hurdles, like the very low water level at Rhine River, which has created some problems for shipping industry, increased the freight costs, but also created a hurdle for logistical supplies of coal to some of the power plants in Germany. So there are so many uncertainty on supply and alternative supply sources that we don't expect that natural gas prices would necessarily, the prices would cap or go lower because of the switch of these power plants.
I was interested today, RWE had come out. It's Germany's biggest power producer, and it's going to spend 5 billion euros on ramping up renewables. But they were also really bullish on its LNG trade, that they're seeing a floating import facility in Germany, that import starting already in December, which should, in theory, help Germany this winter and sort of reduce some of the risk and exposure to Russia. Are those timelines realistic?
It sounds, I mean, I hope it happens. When you're talking about renewables, of course, that's not going to happen overnight. These are the infrastructural changes. The investment is going to happen, obviously, but the result would happen in a medium term, not quickly by this winter. So we are expecting a cold and dark, unfortunately, winter. Countries, not only Germany, but also France. But yes, it's going to be very, very helpful, obviously, for the supply in this region, especially for Germany, but not a complete substitution for the Russian import of natural gas to the region.
Olaf Scholz, the German Chancellor, was speaking a little bit earlier on. He talked about the fact that there was going to be solidarity in Europe when it comes to energy. He said that the German people would not have to walk alone. On the same day, we see the UK energy regulator saying that it's having to invoke critical measures because the supply of energy in the UK is falling to a low level, and as a result of which exports are going to be limited. How much solidarity do you see happening this winter?
Well, we are, what we are expecting is that, especially among European countries in this region and UK, there will be a lot of as you said, solidarity and trying to help each other to solve the problem, and in terms of logistics as much as possible. But it's not going to be that easy. There is unfortunately not a quick fix for this winter. But as we are moving through medium term, things could change differently.
Well, I mean, it's easy to say, but I wonder if local governments like Hungary, for example, or the UK even, restricting exports because they have their own power issues, as prices rise so high, as it gets so cold, it's hard to understand how that unity in Europe is going to stick together, and it's not going to be like every country out for themselves.
Well, something that would be also very critical for the governments is that if there is any political backlash against the ruling parties. So it's not just, it's people, of course, the affordability, the supply, emergency, and as you said, cold weather. We need to also see how cold this winter, but also it's the lifeline of the parties, the elections. How would people react? So yes, as you mentioned, it's going to be politically also very hard for the leaders of each countries that are producing to consider giving more pain to their own local people to have that unity.
Sarah, French power prices 1 year ahead are at around circa 600 a kilowatt hour. We've hit fresh record highs again today. How high do you think that number could get?
That sounds really scary, because every minute you look at it, it's going high, and historically really high. When you look at the graphs, it's just like going up, skyrocketing. So it very much depends on different factors. Obviously, the weather, how cold, how much gas reserves would be available, natural gas reserve, how quickly the power plants could switch to oil, the availability and the prices of oil and oil products that, as you said, diesel being a feedstock of these power plants. Also, some of them are switching to coal, we know. So there are a lot of different factors that are impacting the prices that is really hard to predict. But obviously, the trend is upward as what we're expecting through the winter.
Which really then leads us back to the IEA and OPEC report today. So we're disagreeing on that demand. And a big part of that is sort of the substitution part with gas, just how high prices can really go, and then what the supply response is. What is the fair value considering all the wild cards that we've just talked about?
So on the demand side, obviously we're waiting for the seasonal demand to pick up. The weather is going to be cold. Historically, the seasonal demand is higher in winter and cold season, but also for oil is going to be stronger because of that switch of power plants from gas to diesel and oil products. On the supply side, the uncertainty goes, we talked about unity in Europe, but also would the embargo on Russia go fully into effect if there is a huge pain on people in Europe? That's a question. How much of Russian supply is going to be cut? Is it really the 20% as IEA expected for next year? OPEC spare capacity, you already discussed it earlier, very limited. That leaves a very little room for market sentiment. If there's any geopolitical factor, any interruptions, disasters. So there are a lot of uncertainty, and we have very little room for unexpected events to happen in a market because the spare capacity is low. And in reality, who really can add more oil to the market besides Saudi Arabia and UAE, which they're very close to the bottom of their production line? Having Iranian oil or Venezuelan oil coming to the market, that's a big political question to answer. But it seems at this point, we really don't have so many options left.
No, certainly it seems, as you say, that we are getting towards the bottom of the barrel on that front. Sara Vakhshouri, SVB Energy International founder and president, thank you very much indeed. Some breaking news as we've been speaking to Sara